So tonight, as you've heard, it is a different night. It's called Ask It Basket. We might do this once or twice a year. Well, we may never do it again. We'll see how tonight goes, right? But a lot of times during recovery, we're up here teaching, or you may hear a testimony, and you may have this question pop in your head. Well, tonight you have an opportunity to do that. And so in just a minute, they're going to bring the questions in here to me. So we're just going to sit silently until I get a question. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, I do want to take this time. Yeah, they got the funniest guy up here, right? I do want to take this time to talk about the Recovery Bible, the CR Recovery Bible. If you don't have one of these, do you have to have one? No, you do not. But I'm going to tell you what, they are fantastic. And I'm going to read one of the principles that's not the most important principle, but I think it really speaks. Maybe it speaks to me tonight, but it also hopefully will speak to you, okay? But let me tell you a little bit about the Recovery Bible. Really, just right at the beginning, man, there's all kind of features in here. They introduce each book of the Bible. They got character studies. They got recovery stories in here. There's lessons on how to apply the 8 principles, the 12 steps. There's daily devotionals. There's a topical index, a subject index, and the basket. Man, can you give her a hand? Isn't that fantastic? So, but anyway, as we begin tonight, I want to just share this principle. We've already read it. Eric already read it, but it's principle 2. Earnestly believe that God exists. And do you remember what that next phrase is? And that what? I matter to Him. You matter to God. And I love the beatitude that goes with it. It said, blessed are those who mourn, for they will what? Be comforted. I don't know what you're going through, but God does. And I don't know how hard maybe this year started or how hard the last year ended, but I'm going to tell you something. God will comfort you. And it's been amazing to me. Now, I don't have that much experience with Celebrate Recovery. I think we decided that between these people, these are your team leaders. If you hear us talk about the team, this is team leaders. There's about 130 years of recovery experience right here among us. And Colleen has 50 of those years. So, again, they got the funny, hey, I'm talking. So anyway, so tonight we're going to do this, and so I've got some questions that have been asked. Y'all have that have already been sent to me, and then y'all have asked some really good questions. So I'm just going to pull one out, and I'm going to read it. Does missing CR one time hurt your recovery? He's asking for those that are at home watching the Georgia game, is what he's doing. So, but you know what? I do think there's some serious, it's a serious question too, as well. And so I'm going to let, who would like to take this first question? Anybody? Does missing one CR hurt your time in recovery?
Can you hear me? Okay. All right. I think that the answer to that, and simple, it would be yes, because every time that I've ever felt like I didn't want to be here, and then I show up and I do CR, and I go to a small group, and I always feel much more blessed, afterwards, because it enhances my recovery. Just to be here, especially if I didn't want to be here in the first place. Mm-hmm. And so it's, yes, I agree that it would, I wouldn't say it harms it, but it enhances it to be here. Mm-hmm. So.
Anybody want to add? Thank you, Eric. Anybody want to add anything?
I want to add to it. 1 time leads to 2 times, leads to 3 times, leads to not coming here.
And also, it all depends on the reason why you're missing recovery. If you're missing it because you don't want to go, you're already on the way to relapse.
Yeah. Okay, good. Hey, thank you, guys. Here's one here. My wife thinks that CR is a joke because I've had relapses. What can I tell her to let her know how much all of us need it? Yeah, go ahead, Wade.
So we probably all have some type of relapse, in all honesty, whether we admit it or not. What you can tell your wife, I don't know that you could tell her anything to change her mind. It's just all about living your life the best you can. When you fall, you get back up. You know, whoever, whether it's your wife or whoever is judging you because you've relapsed, they need forgiveness from Christ just like you need forgiveness from Christ. So we all practice forgiveness of each other the way Christ forgave us. That's what we're called to do. And rather than try to argue and debate it, I would put it as a huge matter of prayer that Christ would reveal that to whoever that person is. Because I think we can get in that habit of trying to argue something or debating something, and usually all we do is shut down and quit listening anyway. So I don't know that there's anything you could say, but just try to live your life the best you can, continue to get back up if you fall, and pray that God will show that person how hard you're trying and how faithful he is to forgive you just like he is to forgive them or anyone else.
Can I add something too? You can't really judge the efficacy of something based on the results if the person's not using it. So if I have pneumonia and the doctor gives me an antibiotic, but I quit taking it after 3 days, I'm going to get sick again, right? That's not the fault of the antibiotic. That's because I wasn't working the steps. So as long as I'm doing what I need to do, it's going to work. And recovery is like that.
I'd like to add something. I think the simplest way to say it would be that the truth is in the testimony. And if you come listen to a testimony and learn how that person was and how God's changed them, then I mean, there's no arguing with it. Period. So.
Awesome. You know what, too, and all that is fantastic. And Wade touched on that piece about prayer, and we can't overestimate what God does when we're praying for our spouse, not just in our own life, but also too for our spouses, our children, those that we know need recovery as well. So, all right, thank you. What happens if I fail? What happens if I fail?
I think you just do the next right thing. That's what we do. One thing at a time, one day at a time, but the next right thing is what
Just the
learned.
next right thing. Man, fantastic. How
The
do you
only-
handle the, go ahead, someone's going to say
I was
something.
going to say the only way to truly fail is to quit.
Yeah, Yeah.
Stop coming, quit, give
yeah,
up.
yeah,
Don't give up.
yeah,
The miracle will happen.
Yeah.
There's always hope.
yes, good. The only way to really fail is to quit. I love that. You know what, too, and I read this morning, Psalm 145, when we fall, God never lets go of us. All right? God never lets go of us. So don't forget that. Y'all got some great questions. Horrible handwriting, by the way, but great, great questions. Yeah, it is. I've got video of how y'all butchered me up here with my handwriting. All right. Who is welcome in the food issues group? This is actually well written. I just had a hard time with the verbiage. Who is welcome in the food issues group? So,
I think I'll take that one.
all right.
I'm actually one of the co-leaders in the food issues group, and when we designed it for anyone with any food issue. So on any spectrum, overeating, undereating. And so because we all struggle, and we wanted to be able to, it may not be exactly the same, but it's kind of like a step study. I've learned more in a step study with people who have different issues than I do than I have anywhere. And so that was kind of where our heart was, that anyone is welcome in the food issues group.
Okay, great. And where do y'all meet? Tell me.
Oh, we're in the first room down the Adventureland hallway.
Fantastic. Next question. Can disobedience cause the Lord to stop a breakthrough in a situation? If you are trusting and are obedient to I'm going to add a word here, to the process, but falter and disobedient in another area, in parentheses, addiction, would the Lord not bless me, would the Lord not bless me? So can disobedience cause the Lord to stop a breakthrough in a situation? And if you're fasting and are obedient in one area, in one issue, and faltering or disobedient in another, would the Lord not bless that? Huh? Go ahead. Go ahead. So, all right. So, man, I wish we had time for these. You know what? What I have found with the Lord, His mercies are new every day. Okay, His mercies are new every day. His grace always exceeds my disobedience or my obedience. I am a child of God, and nothing can change that. Nothing can take me out of His hand. I know that. Nothing can separate me from the love of God. Now, I will say this on the same hand, the Lord disciplines those He loves. And what God wants for me, according to Romans, is for me to look just like His Son, Jesus Christ. If you want to know what the end of recovery looks like, you look like Jesus. God knew from the beginning what His plan was, and it's for each and every single one of us to become like His Son, Jesus. So, will it prevent a blessing? It may hinder my recovery for sure, but will it stop His grace, His love, my standing with Him? Not one bit at all. So that's my answer for that one.
Good answer.
Whew, the codependency was wondering. So, all right.
That's true. Do you know that there's always going to be hurt? And there's this thing called the enemy that you can put your hurt or your pain at the foot of the cross. The problem is we don't leave it there. We have an enemy who whispers, hey, remember this? And then you're like, you know what, I'm going to fix this. But we can't do it. So I think that acting as actually taking it off of our shoulders and putting it at the foot of the cross and let the Lord handle it. All this is about is dependence.
Mm-hmm. I had the same question after my first step study, and what one of my mentors told me was that we forgive as many times as it takes until the hurt subsides, and eventually it does subside. Jesus told us to not forgive 7 times, but 70 times 7, and obviously that's a figurative number, but we do it until the pain goes away.
And this question was asked to me actually probably back in, he wrote it down for me, but it was actually asked probably back in late September, October. And I thought, man, that's a great question. And then I think, Jeremy, you and I were talking about this question the other day. And it goes to what Colleen she used the pronoun we. I don't know if you picked up on that. She said, we lay it down. And so a lot of times when you've done the forgiveness part, but walking through that pain, this is what Jeremy said. He said, we walk through it together. You don't have to carry that pain by yourself. And you know what? A lot of the healing takes place at Celebrate Recovery, not because you did a lesson or maybe you completed that part of the step study. A lot of the healing took place because we comforted one another. We prayed for one another. We encouraged one another. We supported one another, And so a lot of the healing of the hurt comes from just saying, hey, this still hurts, and I need to tell somebody, so.
I also think that
I was done. I'm just kidding.
I think the 4 keys in this place are so important as far as being honest. When we are angry, when we're feeling hurt, when it comes back, when the enemy's telling us we're not worthy or it was our fault. We have to talk to the people that God's placed in our lives. We have to confess it to them, and then we have to serve with the people that God's placed in our life. We have to stay in God's word, and we have to. Number 4 is, Scott, what is number 4?
I'm sorry, I got a question I'm going to ask you, so go ahead.
Attendance here every Thursday night, step study, all those things. So it's just like Scott was just saying, is surround yourself continuously with the people God's placed in your life. That is the key.
Yeah. So I'm gonna piggy off that right there, because one thing that's been amazing. So all of them have been in recovery way longer than I have, because I'm new to the ministry. I think I'm 2.5 years. But one thing I noticed about the team is, and this is why I really think any one of them could get up here and teach a lesson, because they've been practicing this. But one thing I noticed too, they take seriously the accountability partners, and they take seriously the sponsorship. Like this. It's not just lip service. Like when we talk about getting a sponsor and accountability team, these people do it. And so we all know the answer, but how essential is your accountability team to you guys? How essential is that? Lifeline. Lifeline.
I actually had this conversation with one of my sponsees today about how essential accountability team is, because the further that you get in recovery, and guys that's been in here a while know this, there's a certain point when your sponsor and you become close to the same level, if that makes sense. And the people that you are around every single day that you're walking through recovery with, more than likely is your accountability partners, not so much your sponsor. And then there's also a point sometimes where your sponsor and yourself can become accountability partners more than sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
Can I add to the forgiveness?
Huh?
Can I add to the forgiveness question?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to answer that one as well. As someone who came from abusive situations, forgiveness for me was the part of recovery that I didn't feel like I would ever achieve. I would never get there. To be able to forgive somebody that would do horrible things to me. But through step study, like they said, step study, accountability partners, sharing in group, all of that helped. But if that is you, I want you to also know that sometimes it requires additional help. And I also had to see a counselor, a Christian counselor, and did some deep trauma therapy work. And it took a lot of time. And there are moments that, because I still have to deal with some people from the past that have been abusive, that hurt would come back up. But what I've learned to do because of recovery is to bring that to the Lord. I bring the Lord into it with me, because he's already there. He's with me, but I just make sure that my attention and my focus is on the Lord, because he knows, he cares for the brokenhearted. We hear that over and over, but allowing him to come and to teach me and to show me who he is and that he is still faithful even in the midst of it. That's been my biggest help in the area of forgiveness, and it is possible.
And dealing with the pain, even after the
And dealing
forgiveness
with
is over, and
pain.
dealing with pain.
Yes.
How many of y'all still deal with pain from the past? Still dealing with? How many of y'all still? Yeah. Yeah. And I love what she said too. Sometimes you do have to bring in a counselor, a therapist. So if you want resources like that, you can see me, Colleen, Allie, obviously, and we can help you with. I mean, she obviously.
I need a lot of help, y'all.
What I meant was she can recommend somebody. She knows somebody, right? Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I won't be hosting next time, I guarantee you. Nope, not Scott. All right, here's a question. I'm looking at the time. Here's a question. Please explain why it's so necessary to be clean and sober before beginning inventory. And this is part of the step study. Please explain why it's so necessary to be clean and sober before beginning inventory.
An added question. Okay, I got that one. All right. Why do you have to be clean and sober before starting an inventory? Because of the Oh, okay. Good call, Scott. Inventory is our step 4 process where we start to dig through our past and start to bring everything up to the surface in a step study where we have to deal with our hurts, habits, and hangups, where we become face to face with them and decide whether or not we are going to start the amends and forgiveness process. But saying that, you have to have a sober mind to be able to dig and to not mask the pain that you've been masking for so many years. You have to be sober, or you will tend to continue to mask that pain. It'll continue to stay under the surface.
Because you want to look clearly at the past and the reason for the addiction. I'm like 7 years recovering from alcohol. And I numbed a lot of years with alcohol. But if I want to get past that hurt and past that pain, past all of the abuse that I had to endure in my life, then I have to be able to look at it and feel all of those feelings, which is hard and it is scary, but feeling those feelings. But now I'm not feeling those feelings alone, because now I'm feeling those feelings with a Savior who cares, who knows and sees, and the community. And so having a sober mind, you're not going to fully heal from that hurt, and you're not going to look objectively at the things that you have done or someone has done to you if you are not in a sober mind.
Right. I'm going to mimic that a little bit with saying that if you're not working on your recovery and you're not looking at the things that you're in recovery for, and you're not dealing with those things, then you cannot see your past in a clear way to be able to write about it, and because it's so important to when you're doing your inventory, that you want to be able to lay it out so that you can be clear and concise with everything that's happened that you're trying to deal with and get rid of. And if not get rid of, just deal with it as it is. Because a lot of times in an addictive mind, what we're doing is we're rewriting history. We're rewriting our past and making it work for our addiction. And we got to reverse that. So by being clean and sober, we can then think more clearly, like what they've been talking about, so that we can lay it out as it was, not as we would have it.
Awesome. So what do you do when people are scared of taking a step study? What do you do when people are scared of taking a step study?
Something very simple, I'm going to pass it to Brian, is look around. Because there's a lot of people in here who've taken a step study and a lot of changed lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's changed lives and freedom. But, for somebody that's never been through a step study, you have a large group like this, and then we have open share group, and that's a different level of sharing and a different level of closeness. When you get in a step study, they become, like, I call them stepbrothers. They become brothers and sisters to you for the women. And the closeness that happens in that group, when you go through it together, you're not going through it by yourself. You got a team of men or a team of women that are going through it with you, walking through it with you step by step, hand in hand. So you're not by yourself, and we will help you if you're scared to get through it.
And I guarantee you there's nothing that you could share in a step study that hasn't already been shared, Now, I will say this, the hardest thing, the scariest thing, I don't know about for you, but for me, is telling my stuff to somebody else. Anybody else afraid of that? Used to be, maybe? Yeah, I'm going to tell you something. You want to know, we know grace on this level, and nothing will ever replace grace on this level, but when you see grace on this level, man, that's a beautiful thing. It's about the most beautiful we can be as human beings when we share God's grace with one another on this level. All right, so we got maybe time for one more. This has got 3 questions on this one sheet. Let me see. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just going to... Okay. God, I wish we could do all these. All right. I want to end with this one. What causes relapse? What causes relapse? Because this is one I've heard a lot of answers on, and so I'm gonna give you. How about 3 of you share? But what causes relapse? And when does relapse? I'm gonna say this. When does it start?
Isolation, turning away from your support group, from your accountability partners, from your sponsor, not working the program.
I agree with all of that. But ultimately, it's me putting myself back on the throne. Because when I do what I want to do instead of what I know I should do, I should get with my accountability partner. I should talk to my sponsor. But no, I got this. I'm God today, and it's not going to be long before I'm seeking out the same junk that I used to seek out because I'm the same person without Christ. Mm-hmm. That's the only difference. I personally am a sorry human being without Christ. I mean, I'll just be honest.
No, we all are.
And so I know without Christ, I'll go right back to what I was doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that sort of is mimicked with control. Who's in control of your life, you or the Lord?
I'm going to put it simple in saying when you stop working your recovery is when you start actively seeking relapse.
And it really goes back to that very first question. When we miss, does it hurt us to miss one CR? You know, it could, because I can't remember who said it was this side. Once that can go from 1 to 2 to 3, and then you're out of relationship with one another. And listen, a vital part. Listen, we need Jesus Christ as our higher power, no doubt, right? But I need y'all to make sure I'm keeping him as my higher power. Okay, we need each other for that. Hey, there's a quote, David Livingston. He died at his bedside. He had just written this in his journal that night, and his boys came in and found him dead. But he wrote this, and he was like a doctor, an explorer, and a missionary. But what he wrote, these were his words: "My Jesus, my King, my life, my all, I again dedicate my life to thee." And he gave you the impression that every day ended by making sure that Jesus Christ was still his higher power every day. And he said, I dedicate my life again. Because I don't know about you, but I am prone to wander. Man, I am prone to wander. All right. Hey, great questions. Can y'all give the team a hand? Just thank you so much.